In this video, we're talking about division, and we've got a couple of examples here. The first one is 0.0016 divided by 400,000. So what we need to realize is we have a number in the numerator and a number in the denominator, both of which can be written in scientific notation. So we want to go ahead and write both of them in scientific notation first, and then simplify the scientific notation division. So for this top number, 0.0016, we locate our decimal place. And what we want to do is move our decimal to the right so we can get it 1, 2, 3 places here. In between 1, which will be our whole number, and 6, which will be our decimal. So this will turn then into 1.6 now that the decimal is here between the 1 and the 6. So 1.6 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3 places we move the decimal. And because we move the decimal place to the right, this has to be 10 to the negative 3. Then we're going to divide that by 400,000. But in this case, we've got 400,000 and the decimal place is here at the end. We want to move this decimal place to the left until it's right after 4, which will become our whole number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots until it's right here. So because we moved it 5 spots now,
we're going to get 4.0 times 10 to the 5.
And we keep this as a positive 5 because we moved the decimal place to the left. Now that both our numerator and denominator are in scientific notation, we can simplify this by handling the whole numbers separately from these powers of 10. So we are going to do the whole numbers and the decimals together. We are going to do 1.6 divided by 4. So if you do 1.6, and you divide that by 4. 4 doesn't go into 1, but 4 goes into 16 4 times. So we get 16 here. 0, we bring our decimal place directly up, and we get 0.4. So 1.6 divided by 4 is going to give us 0.4. And we're going to say times 10 to the negative 3 divided by 10 to the 5. Well, if you remember this rule of exponents here, when you have like bases in the numerator and denominator, you just take the exponent from the numerator, in this case negative 3, and you subtract the exponent in the denominator. So negative 3 minus 5 is going to give us negative 8. So we're going to have 0.4 times 10 to the negative 8. But this is not in scientific notation. Remember, we always need to start this with a whole number, which means we need to move our decimal place here 1 spot to the right like this until it's right here. So we can call this 4.0. So then this is going to be 4.0 after we've moved the decimal place. Because we've moved the decimal place 1 spot to the right, we're going to say times 10 to the negative 1. Remember, you always do negative exponent when you move the decimal to the right. So times 10 to the negative 1 times 10 to the negative 8. And then all we can say 4.0 when we have like bases multiplied together and they both have an exponent. We can add those exponents together. So negative 1 plus a negative 8 is going to be a negative 9. So we get times 10 to the negative 9. And this is our answer in scientific notation. Now we want to look at our second example where we have 3.6 times 10 to the negative 8 divided by 6 times 10 to the negative 2. We'll deal with these whole and decimal numbers here separately. So we're going to do 3.6 divided by 6. So we can say 6 into 3.6. We bring our decimal straight up. 6 can't go into 3, but it can go into 36 6 times. so we get 36 and 0. So we know we have an answer of 0.6 here. So we are going to get 0.6. And then for 10 to the negative 8 divided by 10 to the negative 2. We take the exponent from the numerator, negative 8, and we subtract the exponent from the denominator, negative 2. This is going to become negative 8 plus a positive 2. We cancel those two negative signs, which is going to give us negative 6. Adding that down here, we get times 10 to the negative 6. But we're not quite in scientific notation yet. We have to move this decimal one place to the right, so we have 6.0. So we're going to get then 6.0 times 10 to the negative 1, which we get as a result of moving the decimal one spot to the right and then keep our 10 to the negative 6. And then we add our exponents together just like we did before. Negative 1 plus a negative 6 is negative 7. So we get 6.0 times 10 to the negative 7. And if we look at our last example here, we'll do the same thing. 1.5 divided by 3. So we do 3 into 1.5. Bring our decimal up. 3 doesn't go into 1, but it does go into 15 5 times. So we get 15. Subtract, give us a 0. So we have 0.5. So we'll have down here 0.5 and then 10 to the 4th over 10 to the 12th. We do 4 minus 12. Numerator exponent minus denominator exponent. 4 minus 12 is a negative 8. So we get times 10 to the negative 8. But again, we're not in scientific notation. We need to move the decimal over one spot so that we end up with 5.0 times 10 to the negative 1 times 10 to the negative 8. Adding our exponents together, we get 5.0 times 10 to the negative 9 as our final answer in scientific notation.